Hello. Today's threat landscape is extensive, evolving, and persistent. More people are using multiple connected devices, smartphones, tablets, and smartwatches. More people are telecommuting, and more of us are accessing networks than ever before. And this exposes us and our workplaces to cybercriminals. As a result, security officers typically protect their business by adopting a negative stance if a business initiative introduces risk. However, if corporate security officers had faith in their security infrastructure and its ability to mitigate risk, they would be able to focus not on the risk, but the infrastructure's ability to support innovation. But are security solutions good enough? Let's find out. How does malware pose a threat, and what types of malware pose the biggest threats?
Devices are increasingly important as a place for security controls because as the perimeter, as we've been talking about for quite a while, disappears in the sense that people are taking these devices and going off to the coffee shop or they're accessing cloud-based applications from that device outside of their traditional corporate firewall, makes the security controls again there increasingly important. So we're seeing a lot of activity on making sure that that device is locked down.
Well, if you think about the device itself, and this can be a user device, or it can be a server sitting in your data center, it can be a virtual machine. Malware typically goes after the individual devices. It's designed to penetrate your defenses and install itself on those devices, the user device or the server or VMs. And the idea is that once it gets in there, it then can communicate out. It can establish a communication link into the enterprise environment, and then from there it tries to spread and start collecting data. The most dangerous types of malware, in my opinion, are those that get into the network through some type of social engineering. Because typically the weak link in any security system is going to be the people in the organization instead of the security posture that you have in place. So anything that comes in through some sort of spear phishing attack or phishing attacks or any other type of social engineering, those are going to be the most dangerous type of malware from what I've seen.
So malware has become more innovative over recent years, and the problem is it's increasingly getting through the existing next-gen firewalls and IPS systems. And so the defenses that were in place that made the endpoints safe are not working as effectively. Now clearly you've got endpoint technology, security solutions that are protecting the individual devices. But what we're seeing is more malware is getting through, and it's a bigger threat for the devices that don't have the appropriate endpoint security. And so that's creating all kinds of issues. And the particular types of threats tend to be more around the more advanced persistent threats, 0 days, customized threats, targeted threats, things that go outside of the nature of what people have seen a lot of before and are easily blocked at the firewall.
So we're seeing malware infections across a variety of different devices. We're seeing it on traditional PCs and laptops, but we're also seeing it move into tablets and mobile devices as well. And it's really not a concern about which device it is. Once there's an infection there, it provides an entrance into the network where the attack can really spread and cause more damage. So while you get a lot of attention to these ransomware attacks that have been particularly annoying for a lot of end users, the one that may be even potentially more damaging is when you've got an entrance into the network and then they can spread out and get into deeper attacks where they're looking for intellectual property, they're looking for customer information, credit card numbers. Those are the type of high-profile breaches that no one wants to see in the news.
So, how can security solutions enable innovation by mitigating risk?
Well, innovation is a tricky question. If it's innovation with respect to additional performance on the device, that's a hard sell. There's a lot of innovation going on in the security realm to make sure these devices are, in fact, as safe as they could be. So there's a whole new set of what we call advanced endpoint protection players coming online now. They have been for the last couple of years. There's a tremendous amount of funding for these new companies. We're tracking at least 60 of them. There's a lot of innovation in the approaches they take to providing security.
Well, I think it's kind of obvious. I think the more that we can let IT organizations focus on their business and developing innovation for their businesses instead of trying to fight cybercrime or cyber threats, the better. That's what that's why they're there. That's their business. So the more we can innovate as an industry and help minimize risk, whether it's the prevention that the industry is doing up front, or now more and more, it's investing on the ability to maintain visibility into their environments, to detect issues that do get through, because it's inevitable that those threats are going to get through into their environments, and then the ability to respond to and kill and trace down those types of events when they occur, or those threats when they get into the network. If we can do all of that and minimize the amount of time operationally they're spending on lowering their overall risk posture, then they can invest their time in really improving their businesses. So it's up to us to innovate so we can allow them to innovate where they're focused.
So the big thing is, if you can actually block threats much more reliably, there's no such thing as 100%, but if you can get really confident that you're going to block the vast, vast majority of threats, then suddenly you're free to start using the Internet of Things more pervasively and enable BYOD policies where people are bringing things from home. And even within the enterprise, when an IT group wants to try something, and even if new artificial intelligence-based endpoint protection might not be available for that device, we can still feel comfortable bringing it in if we have a reliable level of network security.
Well, we've seen a lot of people react to the malware instances by saying we need to limit access to things, and it just doesn't work with the users. You know, applications like email in the browser are just part of your day-to-day work experience, and so there's no way to turn those off without causing productivity loss. And if you do lose productivity, the users are going to find a way around the security controls you just put in place. So the approaches we'd like to see are things that enable people to go and do things that they're used to doing, but do them in a way that's now secure.
And what is the future of security?
The future of device security, I think, is still in flux. We're hopeful, given the amount of attention being given to these solutions right now, that there are in fact some products that will provide additional security compared to what we would call contemporary or legacy AV systems. There's certainly testing being done that should verify that these devices are in fact catching things with respect to protection that wouldn't be caught before. And there's also the additional detection and remediation features that are being added that are quite important as well.
I think the biggest thing that we're seeing now, there's two areas. As a next generation endpoint security company, we are seeing companies, a lot of our business is moving to providing visibility and detection and response capabilities in the cloud. So how do we maintain the same visibility and security capabilities in the cloud that we currently have in the physical infrastructure that we have? And then beyond that, I think as we talk about devices are not just going to be clients and servers. We're going to have all these Internet of Things devices that are hooked into and hanging off of the edge of the network. And so as a company, Ziften, we provide a very small, lightweight agent that runs on our client and the server infrastructure. We can do the same thing with those types of devices that hang off the edge of the network. So you can track and discover all those types of devices, and you can monitor those types of devices once they're connected to the network and understand what type of risk they actually pose to your overall security posture.
So it's clearly endpoints are going to be protected in two models. One is increasingly the shift is going to move more and more toward artificial intelligence and running directly on the endpoint. because of the lightweight nature and the ability to run on a broad variety of device types. But that in combination with a network layer of inspection to give that general layer of protection as well as that device-specific protection. That multi-layered approach, which is a tried and true model, is going to continue to be a big part of it. But the shift is going to be increasingly the introduction of artificial intelligence into the equation so that we have more accurate threat detection and prevention.
I think in that same vein of trying to make sure things are secure, changing the security model where rather than trying to determine if content coming in from the web and from email is good or bad, providing a layer of isolation in between the devices and the risky content is a way to provide users still a way to get their jobs done, but then provide a level of abstraction and a level of security protection that can keep the devices protected and keep the enterprise protected from these attacks.
So it appears that there's a considerable degree of confidence in the ability of new security solutions to deliver the protection that businesses need in order to innovate. Perhaps the main issue is whether purchasers feel able to take advantage of those solutions.